everybody, and welcome to another edition of State Champs Hang Time. We are back in the comfy confines of the podcast studio. We got a new monitor in here. It's got logos, and we get our sponsors some love, so it's all good. Scott Burnstein, TJ Kelly here. What's up, boys?
How you doing?
All right, good. Basketball.
I got hoop fever, man. I need to go to the doctor and get a prescription to bring the fever down.
I know.
I just love it. I'm at games, almost every night, and
Good.
I obviously you love football season, but and I said this before, football season you got to wait 5-6 days.
Yeah.
Basketball,
It's all week.
Sometimes you can go to 3-4 games a day.
Yeah,
Last Saturday, I was at a game at Callahan. Then I shot down to Depsa, and then ended the night at North Farmington. Got catch 3 or 4 games in a night.
Yeah,
or a day.
Beautiful. I know you. This is your life. So
Yeah. Oh yeah, I had a great time out in Grand Rapids on Saturday. There was some nice games out there.
All right, so we'll talk about it real quick. Want to reference our sponsors, of course, Lawrence Tech. Soon, 26 sports will be offered here. Track and field beginning this spring. You can recruit yourself at l2athletics.com. The MHSAA, visit MHSAA.com for scores and a whole lot more. BCAM, the Basketball Coaches Association of Michigan. Every week, the Assistant Executive Director, longtime coach at Canton and Westland, John Glenn. Dan Young will join us later. He will be here with State Champs Managing Editor Matt Mowery, and we'll be talking Mr. Basketball candidates this week. Although it pretty much begins with one and ends with one, we'll still talk about the guys.
And
who
I
will
saw
be
him.
in the
I
mix.
saw him last week. I want to talk about it.
We'll get
into it a little
there.
more.
We'll talk about Mr. Weems.
Romeo Weems.
Let's talk first about kind of what happened this past weekend, some of the games that you guys were at, and this past Tuesday. I know with some of the Tuesday scores, you had already kind of listed some of the games that you were paying attention to. Allendale Hudson and Unity had to postpone, so they didn't play on Tuesday. But Flint Carmen Ainsworth beat Davison 53-34. Country Day and Catholic Central got together. Novi Catholic Central.
I was there last
all
night.
CC.
On Tuesday night, it was a running clock.
85-47. So.
And it's a tribute to how good Catholic Central is, and they play that game without maybe their best player, and Brendan Downs.
Yeah.
So they did that, won by 40 plus. Without one of their big three.
Yeah.
And it also kind of speaks to maybe where Country Day is without Wendell Green, and that loss being a little bit more impactful than maybe some people thought.
Grand Blanc was able to beat U of D Jesuit.
Other way around.
Oh, I'm sorry. It was, I wrote that wrong. You're right. 57-44. It was UD who won that one. I don't know. I wrote
Grand
that wrong. I was going to say, we'd be talking a lot about that one.
Yeah.
Graham Blank traveled to 7 Mile to play that game.
Yeah, okay. And it was Ferndale over Groves. That's not a misprint.
No.
68-53. And one of the games that I had a guy filming was Grand Rapids Christian and Grand Rapids Catholic Central got together. Catholic Central was down 16 in that game, rallied back in the fourth to win 50-45. It was a good matchup. So I do have, we'll process some highlights at some point and get them up on the social media. And again, I needed some of that footage for the Winter Jam, which is coming up. So that is what we had there. And
that might be Ferndale's first win of the season.
I believe so.
They're playing without their transfers, and there's a cavalcade of PSL kids that came into the OAA over the summer from Detroit East English Village, following Coach Juan Rickman, who's replaced Tommy Staten, who was in a second stint on the bench for Ferndale. And you got guys like Jay Sean Moore, one of the best wing prospects in the state as a junior, Simon Wheeler, one of the best point guard prospects as a sophomore, Sudi McElroy, a real sniper of a shooting guard who's already, I think, got some Division I interest, and a couple other guys.
And Colin Golston,
big fellow. Yeah. So when those guys get eligible, you have a team that should be one of the better teams in the OAA overall, not just in the Blue Conference, which is the lowest conference, which if those guys are playing, they should win in a walk.
And when was the last time we were touting Ferndale?
It's been a while.
Yeah, it's been a while.
Rashad Phillips.
Yeah, Rashad Phillips. Probably.
That's been a while.
Right.
Jared Stevens and Rashad Phillips.
And
DJ my era.
What a great segue. We will have Rashad Phillips at the Winter Jam,
Yes.
so we're going to be able to talk to him.
One of the more dynamic backcourt studs that really Metro Detroit area has ever seen, and then went on to have an all-time great career at Detroit Mercy, the the Titans' all-time leading scorer.
Yeah, well, the younger Davis at UD is doing pretty well right there himself.
Yeah.
So Mike Davis's son,
Antonio Davis.
So yeah, quite the shooter. So it's good to see.
Following in Rashad Phillips' footsteps 20 years later.
Yeah.
Wow, it's been that long.
I know, isn't it crazy?
Man.
Yeah, you're old.
Rashad Phillips. I mean, to give people some context, Rashad Phillips didn't just do it at the high school level at Ferndale, where he was a whirling dervish of a point guard. He didn't just do it at the college level within the context of the league play. He went into the big dance and led the U of D Mercy Titans to 2 upset wins in the first round back-to-back years. I believe it was either 98-99 or 99-2000, where they upset big-name programs.
UCLA won them.
UCLA and I believe Ohio State.
Tyus Edney, that's the homie. We get food down in Augusta, Georgia. Pretty nice.
So,
he likes the sweet tea lemonade. He goes down there. Can't find that in Cali very often.
He'll always be known for that 2-second rush, man,
right.
up the court, whatever it was. It was like 3 seconds on the clock.
Missouri.
In the national championship run.
No, that was in the first round of the tournament.
Right, but I'm saying
and then they ended up winning it all.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
And they almost lost there. So you were out west
Yes.
this past weekend. Tell me, where you were and what you saw and what you liked.
Got to see Benton Harbor, top team in my rankings. I mean, they're phenomenal. One thing I really liked about Scooby Johnson, the phenomenal junior, the first half, he was just kind of distributing the ball, getting everybody involved. In the second half, you just wound up taking over, and that was against a solid Detroit Loyola team. And Detroit Loyola was actually winning after the first quarter, was within a basket in the first half, at the end of the first half, and then it was Scooby time. And there was enough of that. So Benton Harbor wound up handling.
How did Justin Brown
pretty well. Justin Brown was solid. They just have a lot of cohesive parts. The guys truly enjoy playing with each other, and at the same time they know how to go out there and win. It's like they were students on the bench the last couple of years. Obviously, Scooby playing. Also staying in Class B, Grand Rapids Catholic Central. They put a whooping on Forest Hills Northern. Austin Brown was going to Grand Valley State, their dynamic starting point guard.
Only a junior.
Senior.
Oh, he's a senior.
Yep.
Okay.
He is the straw that stirs that drink. He is everything he is the glue.
We saw him last year at Breslin drop a 30 bomb.
He went Spike Elbrecht.
Yeah.
I guess you could say in that game. But yeah, he was really turning it on. Unfortunately, Mikhail Bingham didn't play in that game.
Baby Bingham.
But Baby Bingham. And I'll tell you this, there's another Bingham that's a sophomore, and there's another Bingham that's a freshman, and they're not shaped anywhere like their older two brothers. They have the height. They're just a little bit, food in
wider,
wider, well-rounded. Let's just say it like that. So, but yeah, that was solid. Grand Rapids Union also looked really strong against UPrep. UPrep being a younger team. Brandon Barrett being the head coach there, who was at Hazel Park. He's moved his team. He's that philosophy and rebuilding and everything over to UPrep a few miles down the street from Hazel Park, and he's been really solid. But yeah, all in all, the games were great. Also got to see Dansville versus Matawan, and Matawan's a team in Class
Battle
A,
of the big
who's
fellas.
pretty good. Yeah.
Hodgkin versus Foster.
Yeah, and it was a pretty good show. It was a pretty good show. I think both of them, they'll wind up being mid-major guys, and Caleb Hodgkin is already committed to Central Michigan.
I want to talk about that game, or just a side note from it. Talk a little bit about what you liked in Dexter Schaus, who's a transfer, came from Indiana, is going to Coastal Carolina, 6'3", 6'4".
6'3". Love his energy. He's one of those guys. He just brings pure energy. He's always attacking the basket. There's not. I wasn't taking pictures there, but I'm sure whoever was, he was. And if there was a picture to be taken in the paint, he was in there.
Right.
So he's just one of those guys where, we always look at it maybe 25. They consider energy as being a skill set now.
It is.
Well, he's got all that. He's got all of that skill set, and as well as the athleticism. He can put the ball down on the floor. But yeah, he's one of those guys where
his dad played in the NBA for a year or two, I believe, and he was a kind of an Indiana schoolboy phenom-like presence down in Indianapolis the last couple of years, getting some hype for a pretty high-profile program. I'm blanking. It's either Lawrence North or Lawrence Central, and he played for a real legendary coach. Mm-hmm. And because he didn't move into Metro Detroit, he moved out west which makes sense because we
Indianapolis
abut Indiana, geographically. There wasn't a lot of people talking about him. I mean, I wrote it up when he came in on my State Champs Bernie Bites blog in the summer, but he wasn't someone that the Free Press or the News was talking about. But he's a kid that you should know about, and on the west side of the state, he's got to be one of the better prospects.
I imagine he'll be an all-state player by the end of the day.
You had an opportunity to see Grand Rapids Catholic Central.
Yes.
They were taking on Holland West Ottawa.
Yes. Holland West Ottawa. They have some of the younger brothers and family members of the guys who were on last year's runner-up team. And they could probably use for those guys to be a year older, but Grand Rapids Catholic Central they were really strong. They just bring some stuff. Devin Boyd did a really good job. I really like their backcourt, and again, Austin is one of those guys. He just controls the tempo, and I think that's one thing that's very important if you're going to win a state title or kind of make any kind of run. And hats off to what he did last year, amid all the firepower that they had.
So we have in the state of Michigan right now, we have a superstar point guard on the west side of the state named Austin Braun.
Yeah, Braun.
And then we have another superstar point guard that you might recognize his name from being a superstar quarterback and a superstar pitcher in Metro Detroit, in Madison's Austin Brown, who was a Mr. Football finalist. And I just want to shout out the Brown Bomber for. I hadn't really got to see him a lot on the hardwood. I'd seen him quite a bit as a football player, a little bit as a baseball player, but last year I didn't really see him that much playing basketball. In fact, I don't think I saw him play basketball last year. At the beginning of last week, I got to see him play basketball, and he's as electric on the hardwood as he is on the gridiron. I was doing the stats, so these weren't stats that were brought to me. 26 points, 8 rebounds, 8 assists, about 3 or 4 steals, hit a big-time rally-breaking three-pointer to keep Royal Oak Shrine at bay to take his team to the victory. I think they're 4 or 5-0 out of the gate. So, man of all seasons, and we're not going to stop talking about Austin Brown just because it's not football season.
Yeah, and I think that it's important. Madison Heights Madison is one of those programs where they just go under the radar. They're right on the border of Macomb and Oakland, and they play in the Macomb Conference, and sometimes they kind of
get lost between
Oakland
in the
County
shuffle and Macomb County.
Yeah, and so it's one of those things where I think Austin Brown can really be a game changer. He's only a junior, I believe.
No, he's a senior.
He's a senior now. Okay,
but he didn't play. Yep. He played as a freshman varsity basketball at Catholic Central. And then as a sophomore, he would have played, but he was coming off a broken foot that he had gotten in the playoff run in the Final Four that year. So last year was really
he transferred to
Madison. So his freshman year was kind of a backup that I was seeing very limited minutes on the varsity, but made the varsity at Catholic Central. So last year was really his first year of high school basketball.
Yeah. Okay. And so now he's really coming into his own. You saw some good stuff?
Yeah, so last week after I saw the Madison Shrine game and saw Austin Brown go bonkers, I got to see Romeo Weems go more bonkers.
Yeah.
It was one of the best single performances that I've seen in a long time. I came out for State Champs. I covered the New Haven St. Clair Shores Lakeshore game. Got to see Caleb Bates, Lakeshore's senior wing, who I also really like. He battled foul trouble in that game, but was a difference maker when he was on the floor. But Romeo Weems put up a triple-double, the likes of which I personally have never seen at the high school level. I wasn't covering those Trey Williams games at Henry Ford Academy where he was putting up those video game-like numbers. Yep. But I saw Romeo Weems put up 35 points, 20 rebounds, 10 blocks, 6 assists, and 4 steals. I call him the LeBron James of the mitten, and I think that's an appropriate comparison. He does everything LeBron does for his teams at the NBA. He does at the high school level for New Haven, just all over the floor, hitting three-pointers, creating on transition, creating on defense, hitting the glass, feeding his teammates. He's leading in the huddle. St. Clair Shores was down, or St. Clair Shores Lakeshore was down at the half, battled back to tie the game in the third quarter. New Haven ended up winning by like 24-25, but it was a game going into the fourth quarter. I think it was only a 3 or 4 point game in the fourth, and I was by the bench in New. It was at St. Clair Shores Lakeshore, but I was by the bench where New Haven was, and I heard Romeo Weems give a pep talk going into that fourth quarter that was worthy of a Mr. Basketball candidate, worthy of a guy that is an All-American candidate. Just imploring his teams to put the pedal to the metal and let's go past these guys right now. We're not even to give them a chance to last 3 or 4 minutes of the fourth quarter because we're going to assert our will in the first 3 or 4 minutes of the fourth quarter.
Well, that's going to transfer us into the rankings part of it, which we'll continue to talk about games we played. And just to stay on that topic, does Romeo and New Haven have enough complementary pieces that they can compete with the Benton Harbors and the Williamstons and the River Rouges
Ron
of
Jeffrey
the world?
is their kind of their secondary star, and he's a pretty formidable force on his own. He had 25 in that game.
Yeah, well, I think that one thing about Romeo is, and to a lot of what you're alluding to, is he makes his teammates better.
Right.
And so if you're not ready to step up with somebody who's giving you a ball, and you're all you need to do is just fill the lanes.
Yeah.
He's going to find you. And I mean,
do your job.
I'd rather have the opportunity to make a layup than a 17-foot jumper.
Yeah.
I can go back to when I was 9 years old. He don't want it. Shoot, I tell you this. Hey, give me a layup. I get all the confidence in the world.
Yeah.
But it's one of those things where I think that Romeo is. He's been there before. I mean, this is a guy who's. When they lost to Roseville, that had to be their first loss in the MAC
and the MAC in like 5
3
or
or 4 or 5
years.
years.
Yeah.
So it's one of those things.
They won 6 straight.
Nice wake-up call.
Yeah, and sometimes
That's what early season's
sometimes
for.
you need it. Yeah.
And by the way, Roseville's really good.
Right.
Yes, they're ranked.
Roseville's going to be a very good team as we go on throughout the 2018.
Which, like Ferndale, was the last time we said that.
I don't
Right.
remember talking about Roseville.
That's what's great about high school is every once in a while you're going to have a cycle in, and this team's going to be good.
One more comment before we go on to the rankings.
Yeah.
I saw Clarkston
and
on Friday beat Orchard Lake St. Mary's by 16, 17 points. It wasn't really a game in the second half. Clarkston really ran away with it. They beat a St. Mary's team that had just put a running clock on Macomb, Dakota, and was coming off 2 games, 2 very kind of head-scratching losses to Pontiac and Sterling Heights Stevenson. I don't know the last time Clarkson started the season 0-2. Coming off 2 straight state championships, replacing Dan Fife, replacing that entire lineup, that entire rotation. And there were a lot of questions after that first week. A lot of people writing obituaries for the downfall, the death of Clarkston basketball. And I'm here to tell you, Clarkston basketball is alive and well. This is a team that will still win 13, 14, 15 games, maybe more. They have a very dynamic group of freshmen. They're two guards, Keegan Wasilk and Fletcher Lawyer, and then they have one of the best big men in the state, maybe the best big man in the state when it's all said and done, Matt Nicholson, who was just dominant, put up 20 points, 16 boards, 5 or 6 blocks, was dunking everything in sight, grabbing rebounds. He's so long. He's about 6'10". He's got a wingspan of like 8 feet. So
maybe it's more props to Pontiac then.
But Keegan Wasilk, who's their best freshman, and really kind of, to use TJ's term, the straw that kind of stirs the drink for that team, even as a 9th grader. He wasn't playing those first 2 games because of some issues with the MHSA over a 8th grade All-Star game. So Friday night was his first game. He had I think he had 15 points, 5, 6 assists. Just really controlled tempo and made some big shots down the stretch. And then he came back and they beat Lakeland, a team that won a Class A district last year and was returning a lot of those kids out of the LVC, and they won by double digits. So with Keegan Wasilk, they're 2-0.
Cool.
Nice.
We're transferring into TJ's rankings this week. You can find him at statechampsnetwork.com right now. Just click on rankings. He loves the comments. You can go at him. But a couple things we'll talk Division I quick. You've got Saginaw in now at 9. This actually has some Winter Jam implications with a couple of these things.
Yeah.
Because they beat Ypsilanti.
Yes.
80-72 on December 11th.
Nice home win.
Yeah, so a nice home win for them.
Cyril Smith and
Fred McIntosh.
Freddie McIntosh.
Yep, and then you've got
James
Babers as well. So, yeah, Saginaw is one of those teams where I think that they're really going to compete in the Saginaw Valley. I mean, they've got a game. They just played Arthur Hill. They play Arthur Hill on Friday. Upcoming.
Yeah, they play them tomorrow.
Yes, Friday.
Yep.
It's one of those things where Saginaw, they're not going to be down for too long. Just when you think that you better kick them when they're down. Kind of like North Carolina a few years ago when everyone was like, oh man, I can't wait to beat these guys.
You mean that one year that Duke wasn't so good and Eastern Michigan knocked them off in the Big Ten tournament? The NCAA tournament?
Hey, it happens. Duke was well deserved of that loss.
Chris Collins was a senior guard on that team, now the head coach.
Right, maybe I won't bring up they were lost. What's going on, Chris?
I should say we are taping this on Thursday, so yes, when I say tomorrow, I do mean Friday. That is a December 14th game. And if you've never seen Arthur Hill in Saginaw, go at it. It is an experience unlike any other.
Yes.
It's the epitome of what the Sag Nasty is all about.
And the best part are the guys usually who are in their 60s.
70s, 80s.
Yeah, and they're sitting usually about third row, and they trash talk the entire time, and they rip these guys for how they don't know how to play ball these days.
Right. Your daddy couldn't play, you couldn't play. I was teammates with your grandfather, you couldn't play.
It's sad that Buena Vista isn't in that discussion anymore too. They shut down, but Saginaw Buena Vista was kind of part of that triumvirate of excellence when it came to cage prowess in Saginaw.
I think in 5 years, all three of them won. You had with Torrey Jackson wound up winning with Buena Vista, and then you had the Arthur Hill team with Dark Tucker, and then a couple years later, Draymond Green with the back-to-back. So, wow.
Yeah, so wasn't a lot of changes in Division I in your rankings this week. Ypsilanti just drops down to 10, and they will take on Jackson on Friday, which is a game I'm going to, so I'll be filming that, so I'll be able to get some footage from that. Pioneer falls out. They lost to Canton, who's also be competing against Catholic Central in our Winter Jam.
Nice.
Yep. So pretty good 9-point win for Canton in that one.
Give a shout out to obviously we know about Beardis White at Canton, but his backcourt mate Sigmund.
Young Sigmund.
Yep. He's come out of the gate like gangbusters for his senior season, and a type of guy that will obviously benefit in his recruiting from playing with Beardis. And he's a kid that looked really good.
And I think Canton's the kind of team that they've been building this thing for a while, so I think they feel like, hey, we're as good as anyone now. I mean, we've established ourselves now to believe in themselves, and so this I think could be a real.
They've had some a
real year. Then maybe they make some noise.
They've had some real battles with Novi in the state tournament.
I think over the last
at the buzzer.
Yeah,
I want to say over the last 3 years they've got to be close to 60 wins, 55 wins or something like that. Because it was only a few years ago. I think they wound up losing in the first round of districts. But I think they were 20-0.
Yeah,
they were 19-1 or something like that. But Beardis White. And again. In high school basketball, you need strong guard play, and that's one thing that Sigmund and White bring to the game.
Was it Meredith, their big guy last year?
Yes, Chase Meredith, who's at Saginaw Valley State. And then they've also got the Williams kid who walked on at Ferris and who was doing pretty well up there.
In Division II, not a whole lot of change. You did have some movement up and down, although you did put Holland Christian, who are undefeated at 8, and pulled Grand Rapids South Christian, who are now 1-2. Out of the rankings.
Yeah, I was looking at Holland Christian. I originally had Grand Rapids South Christian in the top 10. Holland Christian comes along, winds up beating them. They've got a huge game on Friday against Grand Rapids Christian, which is going to be nice. Really kind of a litmus test for...
Road game.
Yes. A litmus test, though, for Holland Christian, but then I also like Unity Christian. And I think that those are two teams that could, easily keep on slipping in to the from the west side, and it could very well be a representative at the Breslin Center.
And you've moved Unity Christian from 10 to 7.
Yes. Again, nice wins. They wound up beating, I think it was Calvin Christian.
Yeah, Granville, Calvin Christian.
Yep. And then they've got a game up against Hudsonville. They just bring. The kind of energy and winning attitudes that, again, they've got some private schools over on the west side, large private schools on the west side of the state, and who are been basketball, maybe not powers or something like that, but they're going to hold their own. And I think that maybe, this Holland Christian, Unity Christian, and I know that they play later on this year. Yeah,
in Division III, you had a few moves. Dansville's out. Mount Clemens is out. I saw Mount Clemens against Troy Athens last Friday. And they are a team that is in our Winter Jam. We'll be taking on Westland John Glenn, who has yet to play a game. Their first game is Friday.
Yep.
But it's a team that has to find itself. I think they're pretty young as a group. Now, granted, Javon Harris, who's the touted freshman. Hannah,
Yep.
Hannah that we've been talking about, had 34 and 9. And he was the team. I mean, he really was everything. And I give credit. I will shout out Troy Athens, the little Red Hawks. They were scrappy, and they had great ball
Coach
movement.
Dave Scott.
Yep, they were getting some backdoors all night, and really doing a nice job. And again, we're really focusing on Hannah, and and he's getting a chance to watch him. I'll tell you, he's going to be, I think, a real player, real star.
Yeah.
Plays on Imani Bates' AAU team. Somebody as a freshman, you want to come to the Winter Jam because you want to see these guys when they're young and say, man, I remember seeing him at 15.
It'd be great to have him over the course of that time,
Absolutely. Absolutely. So they've got some work to do. They did bounce back and get a win this past Tuesday. We'll talk about that a little bit later in our Hot Topics. But otherwise, you did have a little bit of movement. You had Hanover Horton go from 8-4.
Yeah,
and they're undefeated this season.
Yeah, they're playing well. I've talked with some people in the Irish Hills, and they're pretty much pretty hot about Hanover Horton. I know that they have a big game later on this year. They're playing January 26th. They're playing Toledo St. Francis, which is going to be one of their bigger teams that they're going to play, and kind of a litmus test. A month out of the playoffs, but yeah, they should do pretty well. Throughout the rest of the year in their conference. Another team that's in mid-Michigan, I guess you could say, that also moved in the top 10 is Pewamo Westphalia. They had Hey, I'll tell you what, they're a team. If you go back a few years ago, the Spolsky kid who wound up going to Northwood, he wound up taking them to the semifinals a few years ago. And Pewamo Westphalia has always been one of those teams where there's just basketball is in the. I think sports just in general, high sport. Town. Yes, it's a great sports town. But they wound up beating Dansville, pretty solid in a pretty solid victory. And I think that obviously, you start beating top 10 teams, and you're deserving to move in the top 10.
Absolutely. And just quickly in Division 4, you had a couple changes at the bottom. Some unranked teams last week. You moved Athens in. They're 5-0. They're coming off a big win over Concha. And then you put Brimley in, who is undefeated. They just came off a huge win over Engadine. I mean, they won by like 40 points. It was like 104-70.
I was looking 34. Over their first 3 wins. They're at like 29.2 or something like that points.
Brimley. I've never heard of Brimley.
Well, if anybody wants to
Wilfred Brimley?
Yeah, I've heard of him. Yes. Exactly. He used to sell the oatmeal, right?
Right, but out of the eastern, the
Cocoon.
Eastern, out of the eastern Upper Peninsula.
Yes, and I apologize. This is nothing on Brimley. I'm glad we're showing you guys some love.
Hey, we won't be falling asleep like we did all the way into February with Dollar Bay.
That's what I was gonna say. Brimley can be the new Dollar Bay. We'll all get mustaches or something.
Like
Wilfred
Brimley.
Yeah, exactly.
Do that in a heartbeat.
Yeah.
Try to even grow.
Put our Wilfred Brimley gear on and gear up to root for the Brimley Ballers.
Like he did all the westerns, and stuff. So we'll put on some cowboy hats.
For all of you youngsters that don't know him, Google the name and listen to him on YouTube. Brimley, yes. One of the greatest voices in the history of Hollywood.
No question about it. So you can catch TJ Rankings on our website, statechampsnetwork.com. We're going to take a quick commercial. We're going to come back with Hot Topics, and we'll be back in just a second.
Fundraising should be fresh, flavorful, and simple. We have the perfect solution at Hungry Howie's. Dough Raiser. Your team or school can sell paper pizza certificates that can be redeemed for 1 medium pizza at participating locations.
We've been doing this fundraiser for about 4 years, and it's the easiest and best and most profitable fundraiser they have in Michigan.
Go to doughraiser.com to learn more and sign up. Your next fundraiser comes with flavored crust. Welcome to Hungry Howie's Dough Raiser.
Welcome back to State Champs Hang Time. We've got a new monitor in here. We're just trying to spice up the room.
Plush surroundings.
Yes, exactly. We've got
the State Champs podcast
We've
room.
got decals set to come on the door here, so we're going to kind of juice up the podcast room and make it look more video friendly, because this is obviously a podcast which you can listen to, but you can also watch it.
Draw attention away from us.
Yes, yeah.
These ugly mugs over here.
Right. Speak for yourself. But,
you're the face now. You're the pretty boy of the
job. Pat Sajak hair, man.
Yeah. State Champs Winter Jam is happening. We just want to throw this again, December 22nd. It's right here on the campus of Lawrence Tech. 4 great games. One low price, $10. It's an all-day ticket, and it's called the Riddler Fieldhouse. We'll have signs up and everything. We're getting those made up so that if you've never been here, you can come check it out and see what the campus is all about. Well, we've got some 4th-grade high school games. We've got the girls going, defending girls state champs in Class B and C.
Clash of the Titans.
Yeah, Detroit Edison taking on Detroit Country Day. Edison actually has 2 teams competing this season. Monique Brown.
Matt Brown or Matt Mowery. Yeah. Matt Mowery was telling me about this yesterday.
She has Edison, and then they have Edison Black is what they're
Right.
calling it. So, and it's all freshmen. She has an all-freshman team playing varsity, and they're still winning.
They're playing a varsity schedule.
And still undefeated.
They got like 12 games or something.
They will have, I'm sure, some of those top
Better
freshmen
competition, what you're gonna say.
better in this game since they're playing Country Day at our showcase. So you'll see the best of Edison in that particular game.
We got the A team.
Country Day lost their opener to Lenawee Christian, which was a little surprising. But they just beat East English by 40 on Tuesday. So I know East English is struggling.
That athletic program took some major hits in the last 6 months.
So so there's they've still got some games going on. At 3:00, Westland, John Glenn, and Mount Clemens are getting together. Glenn, again, like I said, is yet to play a game. Actually, they're going to play at home on Saturday against Livonia Franklin, so that will be their first matchup. Mount Clemens is 2-2. Like I said, Javon Harris is worth the price of admission, and I said his name. Hannah. I wrote Harris, and that's
I think
why
Barbara
I
Hannah. Hannah Barbara.
Yes, exactly. It's good.
And the name is familiar to Bather Baller faithful because I think this is the third brother to come through the program.
And they just lost to Pontiac 61-53, so it's a pretty good game. They lost.
We might have to start talking about Pontiac a little bit. Coach
Are they
Schroeder.
Division III now? Because I know that they
where
dipped
they're-
down.
I think they're in the blue.
Okay, yeah.
Maybe it's not just going to be a Ferndale walk to the title, and Oxford's not bad either. They got Trey Townsend and Mike Raish
And
up in the
Pontiac
front
beat
court.
Clarkson earlier. That's why we're
and they
talking
got.
about them.
I think the big stud at Pontiac right now is a guy named Cleo Brown, who I think is a guy that we maybe
We'll have
should
to
start
check them
paying
out.
attention to.
We'll have to see what they're all about. At 5 o'clock, Ypsilanti will battle the technicians of Detroit Cass Tech. Ypsi 1-1 on the year, beat University Prep by 30 in the opener. Lost a tough one to Saginaw on Tuesday, 80-72. Again, I'm going to see them on Friday hosting Jackson. Cass Tech 2-1, lost to a good Flint Carmen Ainsworth team in their opener. Just a bucket. It was 60-58. Since then, they defeated West Bloomfield and the Detroit West Side Academy, both of them by like triple digits.
They put a hurting on West Bloomfield, and this is a West Bloomfield team with a Division I bound shooting guard and Donovan Moore and a really talented sophomore crop, and they were kind of like deer in headlights down at Cass Tech.
I think that the other thing is, sometimes the good teams bounce back. You talked about New Haven losing earlier, and then they go out there and beat the snot out of Lakeshore.
Yep. Clarkston, who you just mentioned. Yes.
And it's one of those, hey, we're not used to this.
Yeah.
I don't have sleepless nights.
Yeah.
And as guys get together and stuff like that, get enough people on the same page, and just hate to be that team that you've got to play, after a loss because it's like, man, my grandparents are here watching this.
Right. Yeah, at the Winter Jam, no doubt that Ypsilanti Cass Tech's going to be a good matchup. That'll be our 5 o'clock.
Markeith Browning, fresh from
State of Georgia.
Hotlanta.
Yeah, South Cobb High School down there.
Yep. Our nightcap at 7 o'clock is Canton versus Grand Rapids Catholic Central. We already mentioned Canton.
Two great point guards
with their big
B. Artis versus Austin Braun.
Yeah. Yes, Braun. Yes, exactly. And again, it's a good time for you if you're out here on the Southeast Michigan to see a team like Grand Rapids Catholic Central up close.
I want to see Austin.
So if you don't get out on the
I want to see Austin Braun. I haven't seen him. Obviously, it's only the first couple weeks of the season, but I haven't seen him since Breslin Center.
Right, they're 2-0 right now.
I mean, they've got numerous guys.
Grand Rapids Christian is
college
good.
Players.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Holland West Iowa and Grand Rapids Christian, both two good teams.
Yes,
that they beat already. So they got
well coached.
They got a good
TJ
Coach
Mueller over at West Ottawa. Said they're got to take. There's a little bit of a learning process. But it's better to lose now,
right?
Than it is to be gone before St. Patrick's Day.
Yeah, Canton's a team. They're 1-1. They fell to Edison by 3 to open the season, but now they just beat Ann Arbor Pioneer at home last Friday. Good Pioneer team, right? We talked about their point guard play, and I'm going to see them take on Brighton next Tuesday after I watch the Cass Tech King game. So I'm going to 2. I'm going to go see the Cass Tech King game at 4.
That's going to be nice.
And then I'm going to go to the
that's the 21st,
7 o'clock. Yeah, next Tuesday. I think it's the 18th. Yep. So then I'll see Brighton and Canton get together. So I'll be traveling that day. $10 gets you in for all the games. No re-entry though. without separate admission. So remember that. We've got football players lined up as bouncers, so I'll try to stress that.
The Blue Devil football team.
Exactly,
Hey, and plenty of great snacks.
Yes.
That will be provided with the concessions.
We
so
have concessions.
No need to leave.
It's a nice building.
No need to leave.
It's a nice
it
building.
is. Yeah, I think everyone, and we got an awesome DJ lined up. It's going to keep it hype.
That's what's up.
So we'll have some good music.
If we could kind of talk about the way to get here.
Yeah.
I think that entering off of Civic Center Drive is the far better path than
correct.
Going off of 10 Mile and then winding all the way around. So Civic Center Drive, just west of Northwestern Highway, the Lodge, M10, whatever you want to call it. But I think
it's definitely, you'll go right by the state champ's office actually, and then hang a left. And we'll have signs up, so you'll be able to see, it'll say Winter Jam this way. So you'll be able to check it out. So once again, Saturday, December 22nd, right here at Lawrence Tech. We are going to stream the games. What we're going to do is we felt we didn't want to charge people to have to watch the games, so we're going to record as soon as the games are finished. They're going to be uploaded.
Awesome.
So that's the way it's going to work out. So we're going to stream them and then upload them, so you'll be able to see them following the conclusion of each game. So if you want to see it live, you got to come here and experience it live. That's the best way to do it anyway. So make sure you do that. Okay, hot topics quickly. What do you guys want to talk about? I know, and by the way, this is presented by Hungry Howie's. Hot Topics presented by Hungry Howie's Pizza. DoughRaiser.com, best way to fundraise. So go check that out. What do we got?
Why don't we start with some offers?
Okay.
And a couple offers coming to Brian Taylor from DEPSA. One of the more underrated, a sleeper in the 2019 recruiting class, a forward from Detroit Edison, helped lead them to a state championship last year.
Yeah, he was just offered by Stony Brook, and then, as it happens with recruiting, of course, somebody else is just going to follow up. Canisius follows up with an offer. When that wound up coming around, I wound up getting in contact and saying, people are beating the door down for some video. So it was good to get some video out to some college coaches that are very, very interested in Brian Taylor.
He opened the season with a 31 point effort, I believe.
Against Oak Park, I believe he had 31.
Okay.
And that was the game that I was like, you got to watch it. Never mind the big fella on the other team. Malik Carr. Yeah. I was like, probably
playing football.
Yeah.
Probably going to be playing big power conference football.
Slapping people upside the head and saying, good job. But yeah, Brian Taylor has been, he's one of those guys where, he's just taken the process. We talk about trusting the process, and I think that Brian needs to get stronger. He needs to be able to take the ball to the whole. I'm 5'9". Brian's one of those kids where he keeps on growing. I never really had a problem putting on weight. If I wanted to put on weight, I just eat mashed potatoes or whatever. But if you don't know how much more you're going to grow, then it can be a little bit tougher putting on the weight. But one thing is, he's skilled. He can shoot it, and he's very, very athletic. And that's one of the things where when guys are asking me, hey, we need somebody who can shoot the ball. Well, how about a kid that's 6'4" or 6'5"? And then they'll see the video and they'll say, wow, what happened here?
And he can bang too. I mean, he's a guy that wants to mix it up in the lane, and he can step out and shoot it. I didn't really know much about him until the tournament run last year. I knew about P.J. Mitchell, their stud point guard. I knew about Gary Solomon, who was going off to play at LIU. But didn't really know much about Brian Taylor, and he really impressed me in the 2 games I saw him play at Breslin. He's solid. I mean, he's got the intangibles and the tools. Let's say this, like he'd be a member of the all airport team. Like, hey man, that guy's got to play basketball. Hey man, people are going to be asking you if you play basketball for the rest of your life, and so you just look like a basketball player. Not to be confused with the all warm up team.
Yes,
guys that look like they're going to win a state championship in the warm ups.
Yeah. Right. Yeah, we can't play dead or whatever. But yeah. Also, this past Saturday, I got to watch Forest Hills Northern. They've got a sophomore or senior on that team, it's killing me, Summerfield. And he is one of those guys where he shot the ball very, very, very well. He's got WAC and MEAC schools that are recruiting him right now, MAIA schools that are recruiting him now. I know Kalamazoo College really likes him. Obviously he's got the grades, if Kalamazoo College is recruiting him. But he's one of those guys where I could see, a Division II, at least give him a partial scholarship. But he's been doing some things for Forest Hills Northern as long as he keeps on putting up solid points, 22-point games, 23-point games. And if he's shooting the ball at a high efficient rate, 5 of 8 for a game, there are going to be a lot of people that are going to be paying attention to that. So
And then let's also delve in a little bit into what's hopefully the resurgence of Brother Rice boys basketball. Ricky Palmer coming over there after a 5-year layoff from the coaching ranks had been a big part of the back end of the Country Day basketball dynasty under Kurt Keener, was a captain for Keener in the early 2000s, and then jumped on the bench for those last 2 state championships that Keener, 2 of his 9 that he won here.
The Ray McCallum teams.
He was the Ray McCallum team, and then the Edmund Sumner team.
Yep.
It was the Ray McCallum, Amir Williams team, and then the Edmund Sumner team. And they're 2-1 or 2-2, but they're coming off of a big win, a last-second win in overtime over Southfield Christian. And any time in the last 5 or 6 years, if you would, and I know Southfield Christian is not what Southfield Christian was the last couple of years. They lost Harlan Beverly, who went off to Mount Verde, the Mr. Basketball candidate, 4-star recruit. But any time in the last 5 and 6 years, if you would have said Brother Rice beat Southfield Christian in a basketball game, someone would have laughed at you.
Somebody said there was a flu epidemic in Southfield.
So this was a program win, and getting Ricky Palmer's agenda installed and moving forward. And then they have a real diamond in the rough, John Brantley, their junior guard, right now the leading scorer in the Catholic League. I saw him last year for the first time as a sophomore, was really, really impressed, really liked what I saw from him, and he's been just fire out of the gate, averaging like 27, 28 points. I think he hit the game-winning free throws against Southfield Christian in overtime, and just a name to watch. And I think we were talking off mic, it's good for the Catholic League when Brother Rice is good.
Yeah.
Yes. I mean, they have so many guys over the years. People
don't know.
Brother Rice was pretty much the lead. If you look at obviously BJ Armstrong, you look at Paul Grant, you look at some of these guys. So I went to
Martin Manley.
Yes, I went to middle school with some of these guys. Sean Coleman and stuff like that from the early 90s.
Yeah.
And those guys were really...
People forget they were in the championship game against Magic Johnson. And they
Kevin Smith.
I think it was Sam Washington on that team who runs one of the Saints.
They almost won that game.
All the David, he had a number
of
sons on that group. Sam and David.
Yeah. All right.
But for people that don't know, for the youngsters...
Mike Dietz.
Who just think of Brother Rice as a football school... I mean, there was a 25-year period where Brother Rice was a top, was like a shoo-in for a top 10 basketball squad every year. Yeah.
I'll tell you, remember when the Tabbits went there, the Twins, and then they wound up transferring to Country Day. And I remember Country Day and Brother Rice used to play each other every year. Because of that, and that was about 15 years ago, they stopped. That's just to show,
and they still haven't played.
That's just show, but that's just to show the rivalry. Either. That's just to show the rivalry of what it was once at one time. They're like, we're not going to play. And because they both had this an air of entitlement. Right. That, no, you're not going to beat us. We're not. You're going to take our players. All right, cool.
So I'm excited for Ricky to be back on the bench and
great for
kind
him.
of take that winning mentality that was at Country Day and instill it into Brother Rice, and I think that there'll be a real dark horse in the Catholic League race this year. They're not going to win the Catholic League. I mean, I don't have any illusions of them raising a banner at Callahan, but they'll be one of those teams that if you don't bring your A game, they'll pop you.
I think they can make it to the semifinals. If I had to pick the top 3 teams out of the Catholic League, obviously I think UD Jesuits, up there at number 1. But then we just talked about Catholic or Novi Catholic Central earlier. Justin and Orchard Lake St. Mary's. I mean, and you throw in Brother Rice, that's a pretty strong 4.
Yeah.
Their 4 is better than the PSL's 4. I mean, it's going to be close.
I don't care who's on the floor. You got Greg Essler on the bench.
Yeah.
That's a game changer right there.
I'll have to make sure that I get a seat next to him in the round ball.
Yeah.
There's nothing better than to watch him and just to see how far you can
push
the
Final Four last year. They went to the Final Four last year and
push the limits with no techs.
Yes. Oh yeah.
So you got 5 pretty formidable
absolutely.
5-pack.
Yeah.
All right, guys. So we're going to have to wrap this up because we've got Dan and Matt Mowery in waiting.
Nice.
I do want to mention quickly, though, some upcoming games that you can check out. TJ kind of compiled a list of some of the games that you might want to go check out if you're a Hoops fan. Friday, December 14th, that's this Friday. I'll be at Jackson at Ypsilanti. We've got Rice at Orchard Lake St. Mary's. Yep. That's a good one. Wayne Memorial at Clarkston.
Yeah, I'll be there, and
nice.
They're going to be honoring Coach Dan Fife, only a couple months removed from retirement. I believe they're going to be naming the court after him,
cool.
And all of his sons will be there, so Dugan, Jeremy, and Dane will all be in attendance.
You said Dane's going to be there?
Dane.
I'm not going.
Carmen Ainsworth is at Grand Blanc, Roseville at Macomb, Dakota, and Belleville at Ann Arbor Skyline. So that'll be interesting. On Saturday, you've got the I-96 Challenge at Grand Rapids Ottawa Hills High School if you want to check out some tournament hoops. Monday, you've got Mount Clemens at Southfield Christian. That'll be an interesting matchup. Both teams really kind of looking to put themselves back together.
Looking to form identities.
Yeah. Farmington at Rochester Adams on Tuesday is a big one. And on Wednesday the 19th, Wyoming Godwin Heights is going to Grand Rapids Catholic Central. So that's kind of a tune-up before they come here to the Winter Jam. And Country Day at Oak Park.
Nice.
We'll see where Country Day is at. Because
I know that
got some work to do.
Julian Roper, one of the best sophomores in the state right now, he's got to take this team on his shoulders.
And that's a lot to ask for a guy that's, was a sophomore. I mean, we in past episodes we talked about Jalen Terry kind of having to assume that role.
Feature last year,
But if you go back to what he had as with Malik Ellison as a freshman, he kind of got to play a little bit off. Didn't always have to bring his A game.
That's what I was saying.
I think that Julian will be able to do that.
And they're a team that got to the regional. We're going off a little tangent. They won't end up real quick.
Yes,
but with Country Day going to the regional finals last year, and it looked like they were bringing back Wendell and Julian. Right. Wendell went off to a prep school in Indiana, LaLue, and kind of left Julian holding the bag there. And went from what a lot of people were thinking that this was a team that could make a push to Breslin. Now
just like Renaissance, same kind of a scenario. Not the same scenario and how things went down, but just that the team had so much promise coming back.
Deflates that promise.
Your stars leave, and you're left trying to figure it out. I do want to say one other thing too. Is that on Thursday the 20th, River Rouge at Dearborn Heights, Annapolis.
That's gonna be pretty solid. I like the young Ishmael kid from Annapolis. Okay. 6'7". Power forward center. He's only a sophomore.
Yeah.
So it's going to be interesting to see what he
can do.
See
Rouge. You want to see Rouge.
Yeah, and
Freeman, Colvin, Tony, Danny Few.
And Micah Parrish is another kid
Micah Parrish,
whose recruitment is really going to start taking off.
He's a punisher on the wing.
Yeah, he's solid.
Finally, Dansville at Williamston.
And that's going to be a good one. I really like Williamston.
Joe Hannenberg.
Williamston. This might be the year of the front courts, especially if Carrington would have stayed, with Renaissance, a real strong front court.
Big guys.
Novi Catholic Central, really strong front court. Williamston, really strong front court. I just give me a guy that can get the ball over the court, and we can make it happen.
Yeah. Yeah, so. And then that doesn't even say about the freshmen.
Catholic Central too. Justin Rucat, 6'7", Brendan Downs, 6'7", Davis Lukomsky, 6'6".
And Justin had a huge game.
Rucat
is,
Thank you, gentlemen.
Rucat's showing that he can pop it now from the outside.
Hey man,
hit 5 3-pointers.
I know. We're done. Appreciate it.
Can't stop talking about basketball.
It's all right. We'll make sure I'll allow more time even for next week. We don't want this thing to stretch on too long. The BCAM segment is next. We'll wrap it up with Matt Mowery and Dan Young, so stick around.
Thanks.
Coaching basketball is a rewarding and challenging pursuit, but you don't have to do it alone. The Basketball Coaches Association of Michigan are here to support you.
BCAM is the largest coaches association in the country with nearly 6,000 members representing college, high school, and middle school ranks. Members have access to drills, clinics, job opportunities, and it's the only way to vote for our annual awards, including Mr. and Miss Basketball.
Join today by visiting bcam.org, because better coaching always matters.
Welcome back as we wrap up another edition of State Champs Hang Time with the BCAM segment. We've got Matt Mowery here, the managing editor of StateChampsNetwork.com, and Dan Young, representing BCAM, the assistant executive director. Correct?
Yes, sir. Mm-hmm.
All right, that's quite a title.
Yeah.
Long-time coach. You're just dedicated to the game.
Right.
You just love it.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. You got it.
I know.
Just always a pleasure being here. It's
Yes.
a lot of fun.
Yeah.
We love state champs.
Well, we love having you, and we dig doing these segments. We're going to talk about Mr. Basketball hopefuls for this week, and if certain things had not transpired, meaning a lot of which again is a whole new thing, is these stars leaving for prep schools, which we've got to, I know that there are college coaches in this state who are really upset about it, and you can attest to that.
Yes.
Yep. We don't have to name names, but we know that something's got to be done. What would our Mr. Basketball, Matt, hopeful list look like right now if everyone had stayed in state?
Well, it'd be a lot deeper. That senior class really got decimated. I mean, Harlan Beverly from Southfield Christian left for Montverde Academy in Florida. Obviously, Rocket Watts, who would have been one of the co-favorites, left Old Redford for Spire Academy, along with a couple other players. I mean, Myron Gardner probably would have been in the discussion from Loyola, and then Carrington McCaskill was actually the last to leave. He left the mess at Renaissance to go to Spire as well. So those are guys that wouldn't necessarily have been, a couple of them wouldn't have been the front runners,
right?
But they would have been in the conversation, and they would have made that top group deeper, certainly, and they would have made the vote different than it's going to end up being.
Right, but they're gone, and we move on.
Right.
And that's the way it is.
Right.
And there are still some really talented players.
Absolutely.
Dan sent out us a list of like 12 guys who are going to be in the conversation. You look at the names, some really good players, and guys I don't think – we've talked about here on the podcast all the time and what they're able to do. I think it really does have to start with Romeo Weems.
No question.
This is a kid who is USA basketball. He's a national recruit. Scott was singing his praises off a game he just went and saw him this past weekend where he had a triple-double. He said that was one of the most amazing triple-doubles he's seen anyone put up.
And I think it's been a long time, like we said, since anyone's gone into the season, into the start of the season, this much of a prohibitive favorite to win the award. Because at this point, it's almost just from name recognition alone is almost his to lose. And so some of the other guys are going to obviously move into that voting block and be the finalists. But you got to figure he's the front runner at this point. And so other people are going to have to do some catch up.
You've got to do yourself a favor as a high school hoops fan and go see this kid play.
He's fun to watch. He's got a great body, a college body, and he's not just a scorer. He defends. He passes very well. He looks for his guys, and he shoots it pretty well for being a strong, physical guy. He can go in the post a little bit. He really is. He's gotten bigger physically. He's gotten taller. He's matured. Having met him as a freshman at the at Elite 25 camp that Tim McCormick and Mike Dietz run in the summer, met him as a freshman, incoming freshman, and obviously he's just naturally matured and from what I hear is a very good kid and a good worker and tries to do the best he can to get better. So whether he wins it or not, we never know. Like the Heisman Trophy, you never know who's going to win it, but he'd be a good candidate. He's a good kid.
Scott calls him the LeBron James of Michigan high school basketball.
Well, and you look at his numbers.
Because when you talk about his style of play,
he's fun to watch.
He's like that, because he's like that type. He can do it all.
And you would hope that it's fun to watch kids, girls, guys that really share the ball.
Yeah,
and he's
dominate when they have to.
Right.
Teammates involved to make you better.
He communicates on the floor. He's a leader, and he is a willing passer, and he doesn't have to be. Yeah. So you're hoping that kind of thing has been trickling down.
Well, Scott said, too, that when they were down a little bit in the game that they were playing, and he really was getting into the guys, and stressing how important.
Huge,
they had a loss earlier already this year.
Right.
So, it's, you want to call a loss a good loss, but, if it makes your team realize that, hey, if we don't, it's not just me. We've all got to contribute.
And getting knocked out of the tournament last year, you were thinking maybe they would go. Yeah. They could have. Did they go 2 straight, then lost? Did they win his freshman and sophomore year? I think they did.
They won his sophomore year.
Yeah, won his sophomore year for sure.
Freshman year.
Anyways, he
getting knocked out last year obviously woke them up.
Yeah.
And he's had the international experience. He's been on the World Cup 17U, and he was on the 16U World Championship team that won gold medals.
Yeah.
I believe. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
And so
yeah.
he's that helps you mature.
Oh yeah. Absolutely.
And it helps our state when a kid like
it
that,
does.
similar to the Rakia, right? She's a USA basketball
Yes,
girl.
absolutely.
That's
Yeah.
That's good
let's
stuff
just
for
say
us.
Thank you for staying.
Yes.
And playing high school basketball.
You know
here.
what? There's something for, as we've talked to coaches in our state, college and such, there's something for staying in your community and battling it out.
Yeah.
And staying with your people and getting some added grit to your game that will help you in the long run.
That's right. Yep.
There's a
nothing
lot
that
to be
says-
said for that.
Yeah, there's
nothing to be
that's-
said that's going to be better.
Right, and there's nothing that says going to these academies. I mean, you look at Carrington, I'm not even sure how much playing time he's going to get at Spire.
And the word is they'll play 50, 60 games, but 10 are good games.
Right.
They play a lot of bad games. And
yeah, it
I
is
don't know.
what it is.
I don't know. But we're going to focus on the
Yes, we
guys
are.
that are here, the
Yes,
girls
we
that
are.
are here, and be excited about them.
That's
and
right.
There's
So-
more to the list, obviously.
Yeah,
and,
so-
and
Yeah, let me do this. I'm going to read the names.
Okay.
I'll read these guys, and then you guys can comment on a few of them that you want to. So here are some of the other ones who will be in the Mr. Basketball
mix.
conversation.
Sure.
Yes. Daniel Friday, the 6'4" player from UD Jesuit, going to Brown. Jalen Thomas, the 6'10" U of D Jesuit product, going to UMass. Mike Fletcher, the football star we talked a lot about during the football season at Flint.
I haven't seen him, but I heard he's a beast.
He's good.
Huge.
Yeah.
I'm really looking forward to finding an opportunity to go see him play, because it's love to see big time football players staying in high school and playing. It's great when they go off, but I had the opportunity to coach Keyshawn Martin and Jeremy Langford at John Glenn.
Yeah.
Keyshawn stayed. Jeremy went early.
Yeah.
And man, it's fun to coach football, guys.
Oh yeah. Another great. Go ahead.
Oh, when I went up to cover the Grand Blanc Carmen Ainsworth,
Yeah.
I got the roster, and I'm looking down the roster, and I'm seeing a number, and I'm like, and this kid who's 6'6", 6'7" walks past. I'm like, you can't have 2 6'7", 260 guys. That's got to be him.
Yeah.
And so then I watched for 5 minutes and realized the number was wrong on the roster. But it's just like he's head and shoulders above all his teammates,
It's a man
with the
child.
exception of his brother, who's
Yes.
about 6'5".
Right.
Yeah, it's and it's just, I don't know. I really love football. My son plays college football at Hope College, and just really gotten into football, being just in Coach Izzo and his football, and it's pretty cool.
It is cool.
Yeah.
B. Artis White is a very talented senior point guard out of Canton High School. He's going to Western Michigan. We'll see him at the Winter Jam taking on Grand Rapids Catholic Central. Should be
coached by Jim Reddy, who is a very good coach, and has had other good guards. Had a guard go to 2 guards go to Ferris from Canton High School, and he's got the football kid is back. The kid that's getting recruited as a D lineman for
Darius
Robinson.
Robinson.
He's playing.
Yep.
He
We
just
talked about him yesterday.
We did.
too.
We talked
he
about
was
him.
undecided on whether he was going to play, and he's back in the gym. So
Well,
that's
he's
kind
a
of cool.
big dude.
Yeah, another football guy.
Yeah, big boy. Yeah, he's quick too. I saw him strip some balls and pick up some loose fumbles.
He's a freak body.
Yeah,
isn't he?
yeah. Donovan Moore out of West Bloomfield, the combo guard. He's 6'3", moved to Michigan from Hillsboro, Illinois, between his sophomore and junior seasons. He's committed to Toledo.
Yeah, good
So
guard,
that's
good size. Could be a point in college, but can also fill it up.
Caleb Hodgkin is a 6'9" kid out of Dansville. We talked about Dansville early in the they've got a big game against Williamston coming up next week, which is going to be solid. 23 points, 14 boards, over 3.5 blocks. Class C first team All-State honors last year. Is going to CMU. Isaiah Lewis, 6'1" out of Wayne. Wayne really good this year. They've got actually a good game coming up next week that I want to go see. They are playing. Who is it here that they are playing? Wayne is taking on. Sure enough, I don't have it right. Oh, they're playing Clarkston.
Oh, really?
Next week, next Friday.
Oh, really?
So,
the 21st?
I'm sorry, this Friday. Tomorrow they're playing.
14th?
Wayne
Where's
is
that
playing
game at?
Tomorrow at Clarkston.
Oh.
Yeah, so that's a good one. So check that out. Also, Ryan Wade out of Ann Arbor Skyline. Of course, we knew the other Wade.
Yeah, he's a good player, too.
yeah,
I mean,
he
the
is.
Wade
Holy
family,
Cross.
the dad played at Toledo
Yeah.
and is a really good guy. And where did the older brother go? Wade?
Duquesne.
Yep. Okay. And Ryan's been a varsity guy his whole career, and I guess he's joining Drew Lauder. They're both going to Holy Cross.
Yep. Drew Lauder is another guy.
Drew Lauder's
at a Pioneer, great point
electric,
guard.
athletic, scorer.
Could be looking
really
at
athletic.
Their starting backcourt in a couple of years.
Yeah,
once
really.
And then the other guys is Nolan Foster, the 6'10".
What a great
forward
kid
out of
from Mattawan. Yeah, I got to know him at the camp, and he's a big bruiser. I've tried to find out where he's going to go to school. I think he's waiting to see if he could get maybe a little bigger or better. But I know he's a MAC, a GLIAC, deciding on what he wants to do.
I think he's got CMU and Toledo offers along with James Madison.
Grand Valley, I think he's really considering.
Yeah, and we talked about Caleb Bates at St. Clair Shores Lakeshore.
Oh, yeah.
Who, again, were leading New Haven in that game before they ended up losing.
Yeah.
His nickname is the Beast of Lakeshore.
Oh, really? That's funny. I didn't know that. Yeah. He's got one of those kind of bodies that you wouldn't want to deal with, and so that's just the start. It's early. You could have 2 or 3 names that maybe aren't on this list that might sneak in and actually be on it late. So the boys is going to be interesting to fill out after Weems.
Well,
Weems has been
the interesting thing, when you have 2 guys from the same school in Jalen Thomas and Daniel Friday, they usually will split votes. It's all about the voting. So this is when we always want to pitch to the coaches. You need to vote, right? You need to, follow the timelines that you guys set into when you get your ballots in.
Right.
And if you're not a member, become a member.
Absolutely.
Right? I mean,
for sure.
How easy is it to become a member?
Well, it's very easy.
Yeah.
We are the largest association in the country because of our school membership. For $80, 15 coaches. So you'll have your girls' staff and your boys' staff, middle school assistants, your athletic director, 15 for $80. That's more than half of our membership comes from the school memberships, which is good. So you'll get, a lot of times the head coach will fill it out, but then you'll get some assistant coaches that'll work their way up, eventually be a head coach, or maybe stay as an assistant or JV coach. That'll be part of our membership. And all coaches who are coaching basketball at any level get a vote for Mr. and Miss Basketball. We also have awards for everything from Coach of the Year, Hall of Fame, the best of the best, the players. We have a big, long academic list. We have a Team First Award, which is in our second year, which is an award for anyone in your program, including a manager and a student assistant that is team-ordered, team-first type person. That's a pretty cool award. We obviously have college coaches as members as well. But Metro Detroit is the lowest as far as percentage of schools that have basketball that are members of BCAM. So then in turn, that becomes an issue when it comes to voting for Metro Detroit situations like Mr. and Miss Basketball. It's a frustration being a Metro Detroit guy.
Yep.
And that, that's one of our big situations that we're working on.
Yeah. So if you're watching this podcast, you need to sign up.
Yeah, it's a great organization. You can be a head coach and sign up as an individual as well for a very small fee.
You mentioned the teammates aspect, and that's going to make it harder. I mean, it's been rare where there have been 2 teammates who've been finalists for Mr. Basketball. I mean,
Last year would have been interesting. Yeah. Foster Lawyer and Kithier.
That would have been one.
That would because leading up, Kithier at Macomb, Dakota would have probably been on the ballot.
Certainly,
being a Big Ten athlete.
Yeah.
And would we have had 2 from one high school?
Sure.
I don't know. I don't know. I mean,
last time there were 2 on the ballot was 03-04 when Renaissance Crawford, Joseph Crawford, and Malik Harrison. They finished 13 votes apart, but they were 600 votes behind Drew Neitzel. So you could kind of see. I mean, if one of them maybe would have been a lot closer to Neitzel than than individually they were able to be when they were both on the ballot. So
all right.
that was your point. That,
Now,
that's
the good thing now is with technology and huddle and
Right.
crossover and all the different, able to get and state champs.
Thank you.
Is that the highlights are much better for voting.
Sure.
Back, the Jason Richardson, when he sent out their camp sent out the DVD of him
Right.
having 100 dunks that season.
Yeah.
He won over the kid from Ann Arbor Pioneer.
Yep.
But having a good video and that really shows the talent and the intellect of that person goes a long way in doing well in this ballot.
Yep. If you want to see B. Artist White, you'll be able to watch Canton take on Grand Rapids Catholic Central. You can come here and watch it live.
Yeah, he's
or
dynamite.
You can watch
should
it on
see how
video.
athletic
We'll
he
have
is.
the whole game. Oh, absolutely.
NBA range, stronger, quicker. Going to Western Michigan had a lot of different offers, but Steve Hawkins is getting a real
good matchup against Catholic Central because they're playing some good teams right out of the gate. They just beat Grand Rapids Christian the other day. They were down 16 in that game to come back and win. They beat West Ottawa, another good team. So Muirman's got a good.
We got lucky
early.
getting them to come over from Grand Rapids for this event,
right?
And
Because
it's
they were
gonna be-
originally going to play Rocket Watts in Detroit Old Redford.
Right.
That was going to be
That
a
is
marquee
true.
matchup.
That is true.
So Canton stepped in and filled the gap. And again, the way both teams I think are playing right now, because that was a good Pioneer win, a good win against Pioneer.
And the game before that, Ipsy and Cass is going to be straight down dogfight.
Yeah.
Two great defensive coaches who teach great fundamentals, and it will be just a slugfest.
Yeah, I agree.
It's going to be great.
Yeah, I agree. As we wrap up, anything else you want to mention?
Oh, just mentioning a couple of these guys on the list
Go
that
ahead.
are headed toward the directional schools, CMU or Western. That's been a rarity that Mr. Basketball has come from, or who has been a player who's headed to one of those schools. I think David Kuhl, who went to Western, is the only one since it's been affiliated with the Free Press since '81. So it's been almost 40 years where most of them are going Michigan State, or very high D1. So it's been a rarity when we've had one of those mid-major level players. So we could have one of those with Hodgkin and B. Artist White being realistic candidates this year.
A lot of guys in the MAC. I coached in the MAC at Western Michigan for 4 years and as assistant. And there's guys from the MAC who end up being great pros.
Absolutely.
But maybe coming out of high school are either a little undersized or maybe a little under the radar. Or when you think about Dan Marley and Wally Zerbiak and the list goes on and on.
Chris
There's some
Kamen.
really great.
Yeah.
Chris Kamen was monster at Central Michigan.
Yeah.
But in high school maybe the Big Ten missed out on those guys.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
So, all right, good stuff, guys. Thank you so much.
Awesome.
I want to thank you for watching HangTime again. We're here every week. We'll do one more next week, and then we're going to take a 2-week break for the Christmas holidays. So,
awesome.
Happy holidays. To
Thank you
both
again.
of
Appreciate it, dude.
But we will
Enjoyed
do
it.
one more next week, and we'll talk a little bit more about the Winter Jam and some. We'll get into some other topics here on our BCAM segment, other
Awesome.
things that are out there in the world and in the news. So, thank you so much for watching. We'll see you next time.